we're voting for Trump.
Wow.
What happened?
Now it's live. Wow.
We're live?
Now we're live.
Nice. We are live.
I gotta figure out how it works.
We got to figure out how the whole scheduling thing works. But we are live. Thank you guys for joining. Thank you for supporting, because we are actually growing. We're getting momentum, and that's thanks to you guys. You guys really like this video where I'm kind of exposing that I'm not perfect and I was very liberal. In fact, I have receipts on how liberal I am. If you ever want to find me on Facebook, it exposes my liberalness. But thank you guys for joining in. Thank you for listening and for just kind of confirming that I'm not the only one who thinks like this. So it's awesome. But before we begin, I want to just tell you guys to support me on Instagram by just following. We follow each other. Connect on Instagram. You're going to see me say anything I'm thinking in my head. I'm going to say it. It's going to show up on my story. And that's on a daily basis. I can't control myself. I just have to say what I think. And I think that if Trump wins, I can continue saying that. If Kamala wins, well, I'm going to be censored indefinitely. So follow me on Mary Truths. It's Mary_Truths. And follow my wellness page where it is promoting mind and body connection in order to elevate our lives. I genuinely believe that that is something that this country doesn't focus on enough. And I believe that MB Elevate is going to motivate us to focus on wellness for the future. So follow me on MB Elevate on Instagram also. So this has been a very interesting couple days. Like, we are getting closer to election day. I'm excited. I actually went to go vote today, and it was crazy. Like, there were so many people voting for Donald Trump. It was insane. And it felt good because I feel like we're really going to win. I think it's going to be like a Ronald Reagan landslide victory. I think they're going to try really hard, as they're already doing, to kind of mislead people. But I think we're not dumb. We're not sleeping anymore. We're very much awake and we know what's going on. So I think we are going to win. Well, we'll see. But I actually want to talk to you guys about the video that Kamala Harris did with Bret Baier on Fox. I'm very impressed that they decided to do this, because that wasn't a good idea. It really exposed everything about the campaign, everything about the Democrat Party, and everything about Kamala Harris. And it's crazy how there are still people that are voting for this chick after that Bret interview. But then again, a lot of people who are voting for her don't even watch Fox, so they probably didn't even watch the interview. So because I know some Democrats do follow me, I thought, well, why not expose Kamala Harris when she was under Fox News? So yeah, let's do this. This is awesome.
Watching all of it?
Yeah, we're gonna watch pretty much all of it, but we're gonna take breaks in between.
Madam Vice President, thank you for the time.
Thank you. It's good to be with you, Brett.
You know, voters tell pollsters all over the country and here in Pennsylvania that immigration is one of the key issues that they're looking at this election, and specifically the influx of illegal immigrants from more than 150 countries. How many illegal immigrants would you estimate your administration has released into the country over the last 3.5 years?
Well, I'm glad you raised the issue of immigration, because I agree with you. It is a topic of discussion that people want to rightly have. And you know what I'm going to talk about.
Yeah, but
right
do you,
now,
just a number, do you
say
think it's
anything.
1 million, 3 million?
Brett, let's just get to the point. Okay, the point is
She's already
that
pissed.
we have a broken immigration system that needs to be repaired.
So your
And-
Homeland Security Secretary said that
Well, no,
85% of apprehensions.
I'm not finished. We have
It's a
an
rough
immigration
estimate of
system
6 million people
that
have been
needs to be-
released into the country. And let me just finish. I'll get to the question, I promise you.
I was beginning to answer.
And when you came into office, your administration immediately reversed a number of Trump border policies. Most significantly, the policy that required illegal immigrants to be detained through deportation, either in the U.S. or in Mexico. And you switched that policy. They were released from custody awaiting trial. So instead, included in those were a large number of single men, adult men, who went on to commit heinous crimes. So, looking back, do you regret the decision to terminate remain in Mexico at the beginning of your administration?
At the beginning of our administration, within practically hours of taking the oath, the first bill that we offered Congress, before we worked on infrastructure, before the Inflation Reduction Act, before the Chips and Science Act, before the bipartisan Safer Communities Act, the first bill, practically within hours of taking the oath, was a bill to fix our immigration system.
Yes, ma'am. It was called the U.S. Citizenship Act of 2021.
Exactly.
It was essentially a pathway to citizenship for the... Yes, ma'am.
May I finish responding, please? But you have to let me finish,
You
please.
had the White House and the House and the Senate,
I'm
and they didn't bring up that bill.
I'm responding to the point you're raising,
Okay.
and I'd like to finish.
Are we already at 417?
We recognized from day one that, to the point of this being your first question, it is a priority for us as a nation and for the American people. And our focus has been on fixing a problem. And from day one, then, we have done a number of things, including to address our asylum system and put more resources, getting more judges, what we needed to do to tighten up penalties and increase penalties for illegal crossings, what we needed to do to deal with points of entry between border entry points. That's the work we did, and we worked on supporting what was a bipartisan effort, including some of the most conservative members of the United States Congress, to actually strengthen the border. That border bill would have put 1,500 more border agents at the border, which is why I believe the Border Patrol agents supported the bill. It would have allowed us to stem the flow of fentanyl coming into the United States, which is a scourge affecting people of every background, every geographic location in our country, killing people. It would have allowed us to put more resources into prosecuting transnational criminal organizations, which I have done as the Attorney General, former Attorney General of a border state.
Madam Vice President, a couple of things.
Prosecuted trafficking of drugs, guns, and human beings. And Donald Trump, but let me just finish.
Six Democrats voted against that bill.
Learned about that bill and told them to kill it because he preferred to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem. And in this election, this is rightly a discussion that the American people want to have. And what they want are solutions, and they want a president of the United States who's not playing political games with the issue,
I hear you,
but actually is focused on fixing it.
Six Democrats.
Okay, so notice that she didn't answer the question at all. And all she said was that Donald Trump created the problem by killing the bipartisan bill. The bipartisan bill was put in way after they had repealed the executive orders that actually secured the border. So this is a part that I don't really understand, that a lot of Democrats, my Democrat friends on, like, that I literally just had a debate with last week, this is a part that they don't really comprehend. It's a fact that if she really is a prosecutor for transnational gangs and human traffickers, why did she think it was a good idea to repeal executive orders that would stop transnational gangs and human trafficking? It does not make any sense. Instead, she has nothing that she can actually defend why they repealed those executive orders. Instead, she says Donald Trump bad because he killed the bipartisan bill, when that's false. The bipartisan bill was already killed by the Republican Party, because if you read the bipartisan bill, which I did highlight a lot of it in my past lives, the bipartisan bill would have allowed another $1 billion to Ukraine, to Israel. It would have allowed 5,000 to 8,500 people per day in order to shut down the border. So the bipartisan bill that she claims that Republicans were for, which not many Republicans are for, and a lot of Democrats weren't either. I mean, as you can see, clearly was not what we actually need as a society. That's why it didn't pass. But it doesn't change the fact that if you really cared about fixing the problem legally, then you should have allowed the Trump executive orders to stand in order for Congress to figure out how to actually create a law that the Republicans and Democrats both agreed on. And that's not what they decided to do. So let's move on to the next one. Not that, just the actual video. 417 to 817.
Oh, the same video.
Yeah. We'll get to her record.
Let's put you down here.
Her record is fabulous, guys. Fabulous.
It's voted against that bill. It would have allowed 1.8 million illegal immigrants into the country a year. A lot of conservatives had a problem with it. These
Even
are the
Bernie
6
Sanders had a
Democrats.
problem with it.
But
That's how you know it was bad.
more importantly, back to the original premise. Jocelyn Nungari, Rachel Morin, Laken Riley, they are young women who were brutally assaulted and killed by some of the men who were released at the beginning of the administration, well before a negotiated bipartisan bill. Former President Clinton actually referred to Laken Riley Sunday campaigning for you in Georgia, saying if those men had been properly vetted, Laken Riley probably would not have been killed.
Yep.
So if it wouldn't have happened, this is well before any negotiation. This is well before Donald Trump got involved in the politics. This is a specific policy decision by your administration to release these men into the country. So what I'm saying to you, do you owe
Brett,
those
I think it's
families
really- I think
an apology?
Let me just say, first of all, those are tragic cases. There's no question.
Notice
about
she's not going to say sorry at all, by the way.
There's no question about that. And I can't imagine the pain that the families of those victims
Of course you can't imagine. You don't care. That's why you open the border.
for a loss that should not have occurred. So that
You
is
admitted it
true.
shouldn't have occurred, but it
It
occurred because
is also
of you.
true that if a border security had actually been passed 9 months ago, it would be 9 months that we would have had more border agents at the border, more support for the folks who are working around the clock trying to hold it all together.
Madam Vice President.
To ensure that no future harm would occur. And this election in 20 days will determine whether we have a president of the
20
United States who
days.
actually cares more about fixing a problem, even if it is not to their political advantage in an election. Because there was a solution, Brett.
Madam Vice President, it was a policy decision in
817.
the early part of your administration. I will let one of the mothers talk about it. Take a listen.
Because of the Biden-Harris administration open border policies catch and release, they were enrolled in the Alternatives to Detention program. This meant that they were released into the United States. It was not even a full 3 weeks later that they would take my daughter, Jocelyn Nungari's life. I believe the Biden-Harris administration open border policies are responsible for the death of my daughter.
That's the early days. So do you owe them an apology is what
I
I'm
will
saying.
tell you that I am so sorry for her loss. I am so sorry for her loss. Sincerely.
Yeah, notice
But
she did
let's
that.
talk
She
about
She literally went,
What
I'm so
is
sorry for
happening
her
right
loss.
now with an individual who does not want to participate in solutions? Let's talk about that as well.
But do you
Brett,
wanna
in-
Look
how
in all
political
fairness,
she is.
I told you, I feel awful for what she and her family have experienced.
During that time, you said repeatedly that the border was secure. When in your mind did it start becoming a crisis?
I think we've had a broken immigration system transcending, by the way, Donald Trump's administration even before. Let's all be honest about that. I have no pride in saying that this is a perfect immigration system. I've been clear, I think we all are, that it needs to be fixed. We need more. I was just down
Needs
at
to
the
be
border
fixed.
talking with border agents.
She sounds like
and
she's
they
whining.
will tell you, and I'm sure you probably, I know you investigate and you are a serious journalist. They will tell you, we need more judges. We need to process those cases faster. We need the support for those cases that should be prosecuted. They need more resources, and Congress ultimately is the only place that's going to get fixed, Brett.
Well,
that's how this system works.
That's the premise of this question.
But
There were
that's how the
90
system
plus
works.
executive orders that were rescinded in the first days. Many of those were Trump border policies. I'm not going to stay here because there's other things to talk
All right,
about.
pause
But you
that.
frequently talk to the border.
All right. So notice that she does not acknowledge the facts. They opened the border by undoing executive orders that actually made the border secure. Then she uses Congress as a means to justify that she opened the border on purpose because the border is only an immigration problem that Congress must solve. This is the issue that we have with the Progressive Party. It's no longer the Democrat Party. The Democrat Party is dead. A lot of Democrats, long life Democrats, have no longer affiliated themselves with the Democrat Party. In fact, some of them, like Tulsi Gabbard, are now Republicans because the Democrat Party is no longer what it used to stand for. It's now extremely progressive to the point that they believe the American people are irrelevant and we should be funding illegal immigration. In fact, I actually looked into a little bit of Kamala Harris's what she did on how to find the root of the problem. That was one of her things as border czar, is to find the root of the problem. And she pretty much told private companies and used our taxpayer money to fund programs to better the lives of people in Guatemala, in Honduras. So keep this in mind. This is somebody who literally opened the border, made American lives less safe, while at the same time forcing us to fund other people's countries instead of actually securing our country and using those funds to improve our country. This is not a America First movement. This is an America Last movement. It's all about the illegal immigration, so they don't care about law and order. It's all about a humanitarian crisis, even though they don't agree that you should be doing DNA testing. They remove that into the, I find that within itself should make you question the morale of this administration. Why would you remove DNA testing when you are vetting people into this country? That should be something that it doesn't matter where you are in politics. We should all think that is a requirement to make sure there's no fraud and there's no human trafficking. And they removed it. So that tells me that you don't actually care about improving lives because you are allowing anybody to cross the border with any child, even if that child is not actually the child of the person that is trafficking that child across the border. So with that said, I want to really quick hit on Kamala Harris's record as a prosecutor and as a district attorney general, because a lot of people don't know her record, or some people don't really care. But I think if you are an American and you love this country, I think you should really look into the person that you're choosing to vote for. And I'm speaking to all independents and Democrats out there that are choosing still to not vote for Donald Trump and you rather vote for Kamala, or worse, I think it's as bad to vote for a third party candidate that you know is not going to win. You're wasting your time in the ballot. It's two parties. It's not a third party system. It's not a fourth party system. I have so many people complain to me that the system is rigged because it's two parties. Dude, it's like that anywhere. If you go to a sports game, it's two teams against each other. In anything, it's always going to be one against another. So I don't understand where the third, fourth, fifth, sixth party philosophy comes into play. However, because we are in a two-party system and it is red versus blue, I really want you guys to think whether choosing blue is the best decision for you and for everybody else. So, really quick, go to the article because I want to read this to you guys.
This one?
Yep, that's it. Such a depressing picture they chose. It chose a really good picture of her. So, I want to go all the way down to her really quick. Let me see here. Reality check. Here we go. The violent crime rate per 100,000 residents in California dropped by 10% during Harris's first.
Wait, where is that? What are you reading?
Reality check. Right there. Yeah, go down. Reality check. says reality check, the violent crime rate. You see it?
I don't.
Yes, but the Trump campaign. And then it says reality check. You see it right there. I see it. Look, keep going down. There you go. Reality check. The violent crime. All right, cool. The violent crime rate per 100,000 residents in California dropped by 10% during Harris's first 4 years in office as the state's attorney general, according to Axios review of FBI crime data. All right, check it. The violent crime rate in the state was 439.6 per 100,000 residents the year before she took office, and then fell to 396.4 by 2014. During the period, the California Department of Justice improved DNA testing capabilities and cleared the state's DNA backlog for the first time. Her office also signed an agreement with Mexico's AG to combat transnational gangs. But yet they removed DNA testing for the border, but they kept it for backlogged people that were prosecuted. Okay, that makes perfect sense. So we're going to continue. As district attorney of San Fran, the number of cases from violent crimes in the city of her office cleared skyrocketed 24% during her time as DA. Interesting. Those cleared cases came as the number of violent crimes rose steadily in the city of San Fran during her first 5 years in office, and then fell 15 in her last 2 years. So we're going to go all the way down here. Controversial stances. So as San Fran DA, Harris faced backlash for her decision not to pursue the death penalty against the man convicted of murdering San Fran police officer Isaac Espinosa. Attorney General Harris' office was against DNA testing requested by Kevin Cooper, a black man convicted of 4 murders. Year later, Harris urged California to allow the testing, which eventually found evidence of Cooper's guilt. He has maintained he is innocent but remains on death row. He has maintained he is innocent, I read that wrong, but remains on death row. Harris supported a controversial 2011 truancy law, we talked about this, while she was an attorney general that treated jail time for parents of children who had too many consecutive unexcused school absences. She later expressed regrets because she realized that she arrested innocent people that literally had reasons as to why their kids were not going to school. So we're going to continue. While she oversaw about 1,156 misdemeanors and felony convictions for marijuana possessions, cultivation, or sale per Reuters, most of the people convicted during the time did not serve jail time, defense attorney and prosecutor in Harris' office told Mercury News. Harris later came out in support of decriminalization of marijuana. However, before that, she was accused of imprisoning an estimate of 1,500 people for marijuana-related offenses while she was attorney general. So it's a lot of back and forth with this lady. Like, she doesn't know what the hell she wants to do. She doesn't know if she wants to be a top cop and actually prosecute people that are committing crimes, or she wants to be a soft on crime and be a progressive defense, prosecutor. She doesn't know what on earth she wants to do. But the fact that she was in power in California, and now California's crime rate has skyrocketed, should tell you everything. It also should tell you that if she goes into power, the United States will look like California on a really grand scale. And I don't think we want to have a poop app. I don't want to have a poop app. So, I mean, that should be enough. But I digress. Let's continue. 8:17 to 10:34. This one's good. It starts ramping up. She starts losing her shit pretty soon.
Patrol Union for support of that bipartisan bill, and they did. They supported it. But they also just endorsed Donald Trump and said, you've been, quote, a failure with border security. Why do you think they said that?
I think they're frustrated, and I get it. They want support. They want support, and that's what that border security bill would have done. These guys down at the border, these men and women, they're working hard. They're working around the clock. I get it.
There's a lot of people that look back at what you said in 2019 when you first ran for president. And there have been changes, and you've talked about some of them. When it comes to immigration, you supported allowing immigrants in the country illegally to apply for driver's license, to qualify for free tuition at universities, to be enrolled in free health care. Do you still support those things?
Listen, that was 5 years ago, and I'm very clear that I will follow the law. I have made that statement over and over again, and as Vice President of the United States, that's exactly what I've done, not to mention before.
If that's the case, you chose a running mate, Tim Walz, governor of Minnesota, who signed those very things into state law. So do you support that?
We are very clear, and I am very clear, as is Tim Walz, that we must support and enforce federal law, and that is exactly what we will do.
So decriminalizing border crossings, like you said in 2019.
I do not believe in decriminalizing border crossings, and I've not done that.
You're
as
right.
Vice
You believe in
President. I will not do that
legalizing
as
illegal
president.
border crossings.
So these are
I- and-
evolutions that you've had.
But let's be very clear. I'm the only person who's running for president who has
I
prosecuted
think she said, let's be very clear, like 3 times
transnational
already.
criminal organizations, from the Sinaloa cartel to the Guadalajara cartel to people who have trafficked in guns, drugs, and human beings. I have spent a significant part of my career going after people who present a threat to the safety of the American people and cross our border with the intent of doing us harm and cross our border illegally. And I will do that work as vice president. I take that work quite seriously.
This is a time when voters, especially here in Pennsylvania, are inundated with
1034.
commercials and ads. They just want it to stop.
Wow. All right. So I want you guys to ask yourselves, why did she support the Citizenship Act bill, which would legalize illegal immigrants to becoming citizens? If she really cared about Americans, why would you support that bill? Why would you support the bipartisan bill that wasn't really bipartisan, it was very partisan, that would again legalize illegal immigration and spend way more money on how to not enforce the laws, spend more money on border patrol to not patrol the border, spend more money on judges to continue allowing people to cross through the country? You know what really bothers me is there's an app that they use in order to actually process cases, right? Who paid for that app? I can only assume the taxpayers paid for that app. In fact, when somebody in a congressional hearing asked the immigration people, forgot whatever their names are, who paid for the app, they filibustered and didn't answer the question because they don't want us to know that we're paying for the app, we're funding the open border, we're funding illegal immigration in the name of immigration, and we are the humanitarians and we're supposed to just help people in need. However, we're not allowing just the best. We're allowing everybody. If anything, we're allowing the worst to come in here. We're allowing criminals to come in. We're allowing human traffickers to come in. We're allowing human traffickers to traffic children. We've allowed thousands and thousands of children to go missing. So to me, it's just bothersome that you would think that it's perfectly okay to allow this person to become the president of the United States when she has literally committed crimes against her own people in the name of immigration. That's literally what she's done. Her and Biden and the whole Biden administration have literally just said, screw the American people, the ones who pay our salary, and we're going to use their money to actually open the border and make things less secure and more expensive for the people that actually pay for us to serve them. Isn't that crazy? Can we move on to the next one? 817 to 1034. Oh no, just kidding. My bad. 1034 to 1402.
So, basically continue.
Yes. Please. Incredible.
Because it's every commercial, but many of them add noise, but a few of them seem to break through. This particular one from the Trump campaign has gotten a lot of attention.
Kamala supports taxpayer-funded sex changes for prisoners.
Surgery.
For prisoners.
For prisoners. Every transgender inmate in the prison system would have access.
So Are you still in support of using taxpayer dollars to help prison inmates or detained illegal aliens to transition to another gender?
I will follow the law, and it's a law that Donald Trump actually followed. You're probably familiar with, now it's a public report, that under Donald Trump's administration, these surgeries were available on a medical necessity basis to people in the federal prison system. And I think, frankly, that ad from the Trump campaign is a little bit of like throwing stones when you're living in a glass house.
The Trump aides say that he never advocated for that prison policy and no gender transition surgeries
you know what, you got to take responsible for what happened
presidency.
in your administration.
Yeah, no
Oh,
surgeries
really?
happened in his presidency.
It's in
so
black and white.
would you still advocate for using taxpayer dollars for gender reassessment
I will
surgeries?
follow the law, just as I.
Oh, 'cause you've been following the law this whole time.
He did.
You would have a say as president.
Like I said, I think it's real. He spent $20 million on those ads,
And you have
trying to
and
create
you have
a sense of
billions
fear in the
of
voters
donations
because he
to your
actually
campaign
has no plan
from billionaires.
in this election that is about focusing on the needs of the American people. Whereas, at $20 million on that ad, on an issue that, as it relates to the biggest issues that affect the American people, it's really quite remote. And again, his policy was no different. Look at where we are, though.
They say
on
it was
plans for
different,
the
but
American
we'll
people,
move on.
I'm offering a plan to deal with affordable housing. I'm offering a plan to deal with what we need to do to strengthen small businesses, which are the backbone of America's economy. I am offering
We're at
a plan that
1402
is about
already?
taking care of young parents and giving them the support they need. My plans for the economy will strengthen the economy, as have been reviewed by 16 Nobel
She annoys me.
laureates, Goldman Sachs,
Jesus Christ.
Moody's, and recently the Wall Street Journal, which have all studied our plans and have indicated my plans for our economy would strengthen our economy, his would make them weaker,
Why do you
would
think more
ignite
people say-
inflation and invite a recession by the middle of next year. Those are the facts.
Why do you think more people say they trust him on the economy than they trust you?
I think that when you look at an analysis of our plans for what we would do as President of the United States, it has been clear to those who study and understand how
So she's calling us
economic
dumb.
policy works that moving forward, because I do believe the American people are ready to turn the page on the divisiveness and the type of rhetoric that has come out of Donald Trump. People are ready to chart a new way forward, and they want a president who has a plan for the future and a plan that is sound and will strengthen our country. My plan for the economy does exactly that. His plan would be, again, to give tax cuts to billionaires
It's a lie.
and the biggest corporations in our country and blow up our deficit.
It's interesting you said turn the page, Madam Vice President.
That's
You
it.
were asked on two
Pause
different
it.
shows last week what, if anything, you would do differently than President Biden. Here's what you said.
Would you have done something differently than President Biden during the past 4 years?
There is not a thing that comes to mind in terms of, and I've been a part
Pause it.
of most of.
All right. I know that you guys heard what she said. She literally just said he needs to own up to what he did during his administration. Lady, you need to own up to what you are currently doing during this administration, which you have not done and still choose not to do, which to me is insane. How you have the audacity to say, oh, what Trump did. No, we're not talking about Trump. We're talking about you and what you're doing, which is what you're not doing, actually. That's the problem. And then you have the, like, I don't even know what you want to call it, like the cojones to say, oh, yeah, like for people that don't know what cojones, it means the balls. She has the balls to literally say, oh, he needs to own up to what he did. Like, okay, and you don't? If he needs to own up to what he did, then you need to own up to what you did. And I think what you've done is significantly worse. Because like I said, you've legalized human trafficking. So a lot of people are coming here wanting better jobs and a better life. But what about the people that are here? What about our lives? What about our jobs? Yeah, that's the problem. You're not focusing on us. You're focusing on illegal immigrants who've never paid a dime to the system. So I actually wanted to fact check really quick what she said there. So if you can go to Harris misleading economic analysis. because she literally just like said a bunch of bullshit there. And I was like, okay. So I'm not going to read all this to you, but I'm just going to, paraphrase. The Ben Warden budget model. So they pretty much concluded that their national debt is going to be the same. They're both going to have national debt if either of them win, according to this. And then we're going to go all the way to Goldman Sachs. Goldman Sachs says, global investment and wealth management firm said my plan will grow the economy and Trump will shrink. That's what she said, that they're saying that she said. But these are the facts. In fact, the analysts found that the economy will continue to grow under both candidates. So under Goldman Sachs, they're just being bipartisan. They're like, yeah, it's gonna grow under either or. Okay. And then we go to Moody's analytics. Moody actually did say that under her administration, things would go up by like a little bit, but they'll go up. And then under Noble, whatever I can't say the last name, Loratz, whatever. I know I didn't say that right.
Loratz?
I don't know what I can't. I know I butchered that. Says the 16 economists wrote a letter in June when Biden was still running for re-election saying, while each of us have different views on particulars of various economic policies, we all agree that Joe Biden's economic agenda is far superior than Donald Trump's. However, they did not say anything about Harris's agenda. They were only talking about Biden's agenda against Donald Trump's agenda. So the statement where she's saying that all of these economic analysts are stating that her economic plan is better than Trump's is false. The only one who actually did say that is Moody's. The rest of them are playing bipartisan. So just wanted to fact check that, guys, because, a lot of people like to say a lot of things, and it's good to shed truth where there needs. So now I want the next one, 1402 to 1702. I love this one. This one's great. This one's when she really loses it. Fully unhinged.
Well, just continue where we left off. This is 1422.
Okay, perfect. Let's do it.
The decisions that have had impact.
Under a Harris administration, what would the major changes be, and what would stay the same?
Well, I'm not Biden.
Well, I'm obviously not Joe Biden.
No shit.
And so that would be.
God, her answers are so bad, dude. They're so low IQ.
I think it's important to say,
Jesus Christ.
28 days to go, I'm not Donald Trump.
So, you're not Joe Biden, you're not Donald Trump, but nothing comes to mind that you would do differently?
Let me be very clear. My presidency will not be a continuation of Joe Biden's presidency. And like every new president that comes in,
I think she said, let's be very clear, like 4 times
my life
already.
experiences, my professional experiences, and fresh and new ideas. I represent a new generation of leadership. I, for example, am someone who has not spent the majority of my career in Washington, D.C.
You're right. You've spent
ideas,
only your career getting paid by taxpayers.
Supporting me, who were just on stage with me minutes ago, and the business sector, and others who can contribute to the decisions that I make.
You mean
about,
like Mark
for
Cuban?
example, my plan for increasing the supply of housing in America and bringing down the cost of housing. Addressing the issue of small businesses, which is about working with
which she knows nothing
the private
about, because
sector
she's never owned a
to bring
small business
more
in her life.
capital and access to capital to our small business leaders, including my plan for a $25,000 down payment assistance for first-time home buyers,
which would only skyrocket real estate
extending
prices.
the tax deduction from $5,000 to $50,000.
We've heard a lot about those plans in recent days. Your campaign slogan is a new way forward, and it's time to turn the page.
Oh, I love this part.
You've been vice president for 3.5 years. So what are you turning the page from?
Look at her face.
Well, first of all, turning the page from the last decade in which we've been burdened with
But what has
the
been?
kind of rhetoric coming from Donald Trump that has been designed and implemented to divide our country and have Americans literally point fingers at each other. rhetoric and an approach to leadership that suggests that the strength of a leader is based on who you beat down instead of what we all know. The strength of leadership is based on who you lift up. The strength of an American president, which is one who understands that the vast majority of us have more in common than what separates us.
Madam Vice President, more than 70% of people
that is
tell
about turning the
pollsters-
page on rhetoric that people are frankly exhausted of, Brett.
More than 70% of people tell
We're exhausted
the
of
country is
you.
on the wrong track. They say the country is on the wrong track. If it's on the wrong track, that track follows 3.5 years of you being vice president and President Biden being president. That is what they're saying, 79% of them.
That's
Why
right.
are they saying that? If you're turning the page, you've been in office for 3.5 years.
And Donald Trump has been running for office.
But you've been the person holding the office.
Look,
Madam
he
Vice
caught her,
President.
bro. That's it. He caught
You
her.
and I both know what I'm talking about.
I actually don't. What are you talking about?
What I'm talking about is that over the last decade,
But you're
people
the
have
lever of
become.
power.
But listen, over the last decade, it is clear to me, and certainly the Republicans who are on stage with me, the former chief of staff to the president, Donald Trump, former defense secretaries, national security advisor, and his vice president. One, that he is unfit to serve, that he is unstable, that he is dangerous, and that people are exhausted with someone who professes to be a leader who spends full time demeaning and engaging in personal grievances and it being about him
Madam
instead
Vice
of
President,
the American people.
if
People
that's the
are
case,
tired of that.
If that's the case, why is half the
1702.
country supporting him? Why is he being?
Bro, did you I know.
18, but I was getting good.
Yeah, I know. I was so like in awe. I can watch that part every time. You see how she literally was like, and Donald Trump's been, because you have nothing to say. You are a fraud. You are a liar. And to be frank, my opinion is you are committing treason in the chair that you're currently in right now, because you are opening up the border for criminals to come in, terrorists to come in, human traffickers to come in, when your job is to protect Americans and you're doing the opposite. And to me, that's treasonous. And I think a lot of people can agree with that to be true. Another thing that I would like to add on to that is that she blamed Trump because she cannot explain what her path forward is. Literally, in that whole thing. She disregards the question. He literally asked her, what's the new path forward if you've been next to Biden paving the path? And then she blames Trump because he can't come up with a new path forward. What's the page that you're turning? Oh, we're not Donald Trump. Okay, what does that mean? That means higher taxes. That means more censorship. That means probably harder laws when it comes to probably vaccinations. Who knows? But what I do know is what they did during this administration should tell you not to vote for Kamala Harris just because of the simple fact that our prices are higher, our security is low. That to me within itself is already enough to not vote for Kamala Harris. And I'm not even telling you to vote for Trump. I'm just telling you don't vote for Kamala Harris. That's what I'm telling you to do. If you care about this country, you don't vote for somebody who purposely opened the border to allow the most, I don't even know. I don't know. I don't want to know what's coming through the border. All I do know is I don't think there are people that only want the best for themselves, because that's just wishful thinking, dude. You're expecting people that are coming in to have this like capitalist entrepreneur mindset. Like, no, dude. That's, to me, that's retarded to have that mentality. That's the same mentality that I've already heard my friends from on the left say, oh, I can't believe you're an immigrant. Don't you think it's offensive that you think that because somebody comes from a third world country, they don't know the laws? Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. It's not offensive. It's the truth. If you are coming from a lawless country, what makes us Americans think they're going to know the laws when they get here? Oh, all of a sudden I'm going to just follow the rules. Like, no, dude. No, I'm sorry. It doesn't work like that. Unless you genuinely came here legally, or you actually want to learn how laws work. But I cannot assume all of them are going to be like that. I can assume some of them are going to be like that. Maybe even a handful of people are going to be like that, but not everybody. And just one person who wants to commit a crime in this country is enough for me to say we should not allow open borders. Okay? And it's not just one person. It's thousands of people that are criminals that did cross the border. So with that said, she said something else that was really, really bad. So I want you to go all the way to 2015 because what she said was, oh man. Let's go. I'm ready. It's egregious. Like they like to use. I like to use that word egregious. It's very egregious what she said.
And in a democracy, the President of the United States, in the United States of America, should be willing to be able to handle criticism without saying he'd lock people up for doing it. And this is what is at stake, which is why you have someone like the former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff saying what Mark Milley has said about Donald Trump being a threat to the United States of America.
He's quoted in the Bob Woodward book that way, yes. Let me ask you this, Madam Vice President. You call Donald Trump,
the significance
you
of that.
call Donald Trump, he's misguided. You say now
he's
unstable.
He is unstable, Brett.
He's not well. You say he's mentally not stable.
He's not stable.
Let me ask you this. You told many interviewers that Joe Biden was on his game, that ran around circles on his staff. When did you first notice that President Biden's mental faculties appeared diminished?
Look at that. He caught her again.
I have watched from the Oval Office to the Situation Room. And he has the judgment and the experience to do exactly what he has done in making very important decisions on behalf of the American people.
There were no concerns raised?
Brett, Joe Biden is not on the ballot.
I understand.
And
but
Donald Trump,
that's the problem.
You talked about it.
And Donald Trump
After George Clooney said within a few minutes of talking to President Biden at a fundraiser that he thought this was not the same Joe Biden that we saw on the debate stage.
Donald Trump is on the ballot.
I understand. You met with him at least once a week for 3.5 years. You didn't have any concerns?
I think the American people have a concern about Donald Trump, which is why the people who know him best,
aired him out,
including
filibusters.
leaders
The entire time this has been a filibuster.
security community, have all spoken out. Even people who worked for him in the Oval Office, worked with him in the Situation Room, and have said he is unfit and dangerous and should never be president of the United States again, including his former vice president, which is why the job was open for him to choose another running mate. So that is a fact.
2015.
That is a fact.
Madam Vice President, two more things. You were asked on 60 Minutes about the biggest threat
2234, sorry.
the world faces, that the U.S. faces. This is what you said.
You know what? Pause that. Yeah, pause it.
Sorry,
Yeah. Because I was like, is that we went over the other one, so it just kind of threw us off. All right, so I want you guys to remember that we're not a democracy. We're a constitutional republic, and a lot of people on the left want to forget that we are a republic, constitutional republic, and I want us to remember what that means. So, without further ado, if you can please go to Defining a Constitutional Republic website really quick, because I want people to see this. Regardless, we are going to be putting all these links down below, but it's always fun to kind of read this with me. That way you guys can see what I can see. So let's start from the beginning. The United States operates as a constitutional republic, a form of government that involves representatives elected by the people who execute their duties under the constraints of a prevailing constitution that specifies the powers and limits of government. All right, we're going to continue. Our fundamental principle of a constitutional republic is the protection of minority rights against potential tyranny of the majority. This design counters direct democracy, where majority rules could potentially ride roughshod over minority interest. A U.S. constitutional outlines various checks and balances intended to prevent any single branch of government from gaining absolute power, thereby protecting individual rights from being infringed upon by a majority vote. So notice that the Constitution literally protects us from a democracy. If you think about it, it literally just said it's to stop the majority vote from taking over. If the majority is choosing wrong and this is really a democracy, then we're screwed. But because we're a constitutional republic, we are protected by the so-called democracy that Kamala Harris is so obsessed with. Because only somebody who disrespects the Constitution would say that we are a democracy instead of saying what we truly are, which is a constitutional republic, Kamala Harris, which obviously to you is not what you want us to be. Hence why you don't call us that. You call us a democracy. And notice that she literally said the same thing twice. She said the U.S. of America, of the United States of America. Did you hear that, or was it just me? She literally said the same thing twice. Everything she says, it's like word salad. It's word vomit. None of it actually has any substance. There's no real deepness into anything that she says. That's why she can't go on a podcast. In fact, Joe Rogan wants her to go on his podcast, but she's claiming that she can't go because of scheduling problems. But yes, you can't go because he will literally expose you for who you really are, which is a fraud. And to me, you don't really care about the American people. So anybody can, say that you're something else other than a fraud. But I'm not going to say that because of YouTube's terms and conditions. So I want to move on to the next article here. Because she said that Donald Trump will use his military, right? That's what she said. So I want to actually tell you guys a little story about what the Biden-Harris administration just did. This one just happened recently. So this is from October 25, 2024. What's today's date? 27. So this is fresh. This is fresh story right here. The Department of Defense, DOD, is facing significant backlash after releasing DOD Directive 5240.01, which took effect on September 27th. The Biden-Harris administration's latest DOD directive has been accused of authorizing the U.S. military to use lethal force against American citizens. Would you look at that? So you mean to tell me that Trump's administration wants to use the military against its own citizens while they just made this happen under the Biden-Harris administration? Interesting. So the directive gives the Pentagon authority to approve assistance in responding with assets with potential for lethality or any situation in which it is responsible, foreseeable that providing the requested assistance may involve the use of force that is likely to result in lethal force, including death or serious bodily injuries. Dude, this is like... She's literally telling you what they are doing under their own administration. She's saying Donald Trump's going to do it when he becomes president. No, bitch. That's what you are doing under your administration. But because you don't want people to know this, you want to blame it on Trump because it's easy to blame it on Trump. Oh, Trump did it. No. Trump didn't do it. Trump's going to stop you because you're the one doing it. So isn't this crazy? And this is by far probably the biggest news that they're not talking about is this, what the Pentagon did. And this happened on September 27th. So since September 27th, we've literally been under threat by the very government that we pay for. Isn't that crazy? Insane. So we're moving on. Keep going. We're going to the ending of this already. The word salad is going to get more intense, guys. So bear with me.
What time?
It's up to 25:27.
The end?
That's almost the end.
Yeah, 25, but like you're gonna watch the whole thing?
All the way to 25:27, yeah.
So we're starting at 25:27?
No. We're starting from wherever you are until 25:27.
Alright.
Let's go. Let's go.
Which foreign country do you consider to be our greatest adversary?
I think there's an obvious one in mind, which is Iran. Iran has American blood on their hands, okay? This attack on Israel, 200 ballistic missiles. What we need to do to ensure that Iran never achieves the ability to be a nuclear power, that is one of my highest priorities.
A number of experts thought you would say China. The FBI director had said that. But you said Iran. If that's the case, what do you say to critics who look at the actions of your administration and say you're not acting like Iran is the #1 threat?
Because they've made Iran
Well,
rich.
I will tell you most recently, whether it was in April or in October, in the several hours on each occasion that Iran posed a threat to Israel.
Look at the word salad.
I was there. Most recently in the Situation Room, in the most recent attack, working with the heads of our military and doing what America must always do to defend and to support Israel in its
This lady's an
requirement
NPC, bro.
to defend itself and to give American support to be able to allow Israel to have the resources to defend itself against attack, including from Iran and Iran's terrorist proxies in the region.
Right.
And that
But those
is,
proxies were getting
and
funded
my
by Iran.
commitment to that is unyielding and unwavering.
Critics just say that you either relaxed or failed to enforce sanctions on Iran, allowing
Definitely relaxed.
all of this money to flow into Iran, like billions
Let's
in
go back
oil
to Donald
profits.
Trump.
Let's
who-
go back
who
to
pulled
Donald
out of-
Trump
who pulled
because
out
I don't
of
want
the
to talk
deal
about this.
That would have actually
Look at that.
put
Pause that right there really quick.
Iran in check.
The estimates in
And it was
billions.
during Donald Trump's.
That-
Keep it,
would
keep
have
it, keep
actually
it. Okay, yeah, there you go. It was during Donald Trump. Look, okay. So, I'm going to read to you guys. This is like amazing. Amazing, guys. Fabulous. So, if you guys were to actually look at the Iranian deal, we're going to fact check that because she's talking about the Iranian deal. She's talking about Donald Trump because everything's Donald Trump's fault because this administration can do no wrong. They're perfect. They are, angels sent from heaven above to help America, become the greatest superpower again. So there is literally a article talking about Donald Trump and why he disagreed with the Iranian deal. So he says, let me start from the beginning. It is clear to me that we cannot prevent an Iranian nuclear bomb under the decaying and rotten structure of the current agreement. The Iran deal is defective at its core. If we do nothing, we know exactly what will happen. As part of the deal, Iran agreed to reduce its stockpile of nuclear materials to grant international observers access to its military sites. In exchange, crippling economic sanctions were lifted. 3 times previously, which obviously Trump didn't agree with. President aides has persuaded Trump not to dismantle the Iranian deal, says the New York Times, but Trump made clear that his patience had worn thin, and with a new, more hawkish cohort of advisors, the president faced less internal resistance than earlier in his administration. So, the president has accused Iran of multiple violations of the agreement and refused to recertify the deal. These alleged infractions include exceeding limits of heavy water used to cool nuclear reactors, along with the number of advanced centrifuges. I don't know how you say that, guys. I guess. Centrifuges? You guys know what that means, I guess. Allowed under the deal. Additionally, Trump claimed that the regime had intimidated international inspectors into not using the full inspection authorities under the agreement. Iranian officials and military leaders have repeatedly claimed they will not allow inspectors onto military sites, which tells you that they're hiding something, even though the international community suspects some of those sites were part of Iran's clandestine nuclear weapons program, he said in a White House speech on the 13th of October. So if we go all the way down to what are the facts, it says that they do have an over limit of stockpile of low enriched uranium, and that's the reason why Donald Trump said, I'm not going to allow the deal to continue. Under Trump's administration, you can obviously do this article yourself, guys, because I just wanted to share that with you. The main reason why is because the exceeding and heavy water limit went against the Iranian deal, and that's why he said no to it. However, if I'm gonna read this to you, who is right? Inspectors have found no evidence to support Trump's claim that Iran has committed major violations of a nuclear deal. Minor technical infractions such as heavy water issue have been rectified. Of course, that's what they're gonna say. However, look at what's happening right now. They've made more money under the Biden administration. They're now funding proxies that are now going to war with an ally. Even though a lot of people have a problem with Israel, it doesn't change the fact that they are an ally. They're the only quote-unquote democracy in that region, and they're the ones being attacked. So in reality, we're the ones being attacked by Iran because, we are funding Iran and we are funding Israel at the same time. So we're funding the war, period. Continue on with that.
But here Iran in check.
The estimates
and then
in billions.
It was during Donald Trump's
that
administration that
Iran regime.
That we had an American military base that was attacked, where American soldiers suffered traumatic brain injuries, and Donald Trump dismissed them as headaches. Not to mention how Donald Trump has treated and talked about America's military and military service people, calling them suckers and losers.
Hamas.
Has diminished
Look at what she cares
the
about.
significance.
We're talking over each other. I apologize.
I would like that we would have a conversation that is grounded in full assessment of the facts.
The facts.
Which includes, I think this interview is supposed to be about the choices that your viewers should be presented about this election, and the contrast is important.
Yes, ma'am.
And on the subject of Iran, I am offering what should be an important contrast that is presented for folks to make
She didn't
a decision
say anything.
that they feel.
What are you doing? You're not doing anything.
And think differently. Madam Vice President, they're rapping me very hard here. I hope you got to say what you wanted to say about Donald Trump.
All right, so just to be clear, they were supposed to have a 30-minute video, and it turns out to be like 20 to 25 minutes. She got there 15 minutes late to her interview, and then they had to leave early because the campaign literally was telling Brett, like, cut it, it's a wrap, that's it, it's over, because she exposed herself to be the fraud that she is. She did not answer not one question. Every question was a filibuster answer, and it all said absolutely nothing as to what she's going to do different than what she already has done. So I don't understand where the logic is to vote for somebody who literally has not explained not one policy that she claims she endorses in her Kamala Harris website. So when my leftist friends want to say, oh, she has policies, then why can't she articulate them if she has policies? If these policies are legitimate and they're real and she really believes in them, then she would know how to explain them in a way where we understand what she believes in. But she doesn't know how to explain them, which obviously tells the person who is a critical thinker, you're full of shit. And you're literally just lying to me for me to believe you, just like Obama did. It's the same tactic. That's why Obama's campaigning for her, and they're so desperate that they had to get Eminem, they had to get Lizzo, they've had to get so many, Taylor Swift. Now they just did Michelle Obama, and guess what? Nothing compared to the amount of physical support people have with Donald J. Trump. They may have all the money in their campaign. They have billions of dollars they've raised for their campaign. But yet, we have all the people. And that's what makes us different. I genuinely believe that we're going to win. I don't believe the polls are as tight as what they are. I literally just went to vote today, and it was very obvious who most people are voting on. It's obvious that we are all on the same page when it comes to what's important to us. And I think it's really, I don't even know what word I want to use, but it's disappointing. I'm going to use that. How a lot of people refuse to see that we care about the American people first. It's not that we don't care about immigrants. I'm an immigrant. I was born in Cuba. I was not raised in Cuba. Thank God I was raised here, but I was born there. And I was raised by two individuals who were raised their entire life in a communist, socialist tyranny that we unfortunately, like, I honestly don't like the idea that that I don't like where I'm not proud of that. I'm proud of my culture. I love saying, yeah, I'm Cuban. That's my nationality. My first language is Spanish. But I'm not proud that I had to leave my country because of the same policies that this lady wants to implement in this country. That I have a problem with. Because I've lived my entire life, my parents telling me how bad it was in Cuba. How little they had to come here, to fight, to have what we have to deal with a lady like this who clearly doesn't give a shit about this country. That's why she wants to implement the same policies they implemented in Cuba. There's a video of her literally saying that the government should have a right to go inside your house and make sure your weapons are concealed. Are you kidding me? This is somebody that's not American. Just because you were born here does not mean you're America first. Unfortunately, I thought it was. I thought if you were born here, you'd be proud to be an American. But I've met a lot of people that I'm actually close to who I can definitely say just leech off the benefits, but they're not actually proud to be Americans. Because any chance they get to talk shit about America, they'll take it in a heartbeat. So with that said, I want to talk about what she did after this video, this interview with Bret Baier, where she got exposed to the liar that she is. And then now, because she knows she's lying, she's dying, better said, in the polls, she now is doing a PR campaign to pretty much say that the reason why you should not vote for Donald Trump is because he is Hitler. So can you put that really quick? It's a bit. Yep, there you go. Thank you. This is great. Up to 134.
Like up to. Okay.
Yeah, beginning
So
to
yesterday
134.
we learned that Donald Trump's former chief of staff, John Kelly, a retired four-star general, confirmed that while Donald Trump was president, he said he wanted generals like Adolf Hitler had. Donald Trump said that because he does not want a military that is loyal to the United States Constitution. He wants a military that is loyal to him. He wants a military who will be loyal to him personally, one that will obey his orders even when he tells them to break the law or abandon their oath to the Constitution of the United States. In just the past week, Donald Trump has repeatedly called his fellow Americans the enemy from within, and even said that he would use the United States military to go after American citizens. And let's be clear about who he considers to be the enemy from within. Anyone who refuses to bend a knee or dares to criticize him would qualify, in his mind, as the enemy within. Like judges, like journalists, like nonpartisan election officials. It is deeply troubling and incredibly dangerous that Donald Trump would invoke Adolf Hitler, the man who is responsible for the deaths of 6 million Jews and hundreds of thousands of Americans. All of this is further evidence for the American people of who Donald Trump really is.
Wow. Okay. You know, it's crazy because this is somebody who claims she is a top cop prosecutor. But yet she's using hearsay information with no actual evidence. There's no recording of Donald Trump saying anything along these lines. This is hearsay information from a general who got kicked out of his administration, and because he's salty and doesn't want Trump to win, he's lying and literally spreading a rumor, and she is using her seat as VP to spread the rumor like wildfire. This is, I can't even explain how desperate this looks. Do you know how bad you have to be losing that you have to spread a lie that has no evidence, and you have the audacity to say that it is evident when there's no evidence?
Yeah, I feel like we're back in high school.
There's no recording of this whatsoever. And this is somebody who claims she's a prosecutor and top cop.
High school tactics.
But yet, where is your evidence to even be saying this to the public? This is, to me, ridiculous. Like, this is the person you're voting for. You're voting for somebody who doesn't care about evidence. That's why she removed DNA testing for open border, because she doesn't want evidence to prove that she is for human trafficking. She doesn't want that. So she removed it. And this is the same person who's now using, he's Adolf Hitler. And you know what's funny about that claim? It's stupid. Because if you were to go back to what he did during his presidency, what did he do for Israel? Oh, I don't know. He put Jerusalem as the embassy of Israel. And you mean to tell me that he's Hitler? Are you kidding me right now? You have to be literally and utterly brainwashed to fall for this bullshit. Because if you were to actually pay attention to what he did during his presidency, will show that he's the opposite of Hitler. Because I don't know if y'all forgot, but during their presidency, didn't they force masks? I'm pretty sure they did. Didn't they force censorship? You weren't allowed to talk about the vaccine. You weren't allowed to talk about the actual virus itself. You weren't allowed to talk about anything along the lines of COVID whatsoever. In fact, it was so hard, they censored RFK, and RFK went to a hearing, and he got attacked by, I think she was a chairman or assistant chairman or whatever her face is, and he put her out on the bus, because it's like, how dare you try to censor me while I'm literally fighting against censorship, which is essentially what she did. The Democrat Party has gone so far left, bro, that they don't care about laws, order, evidence, what real justice is supposed to be. They don't care about rationale. They don't care about morals. They don't care about anything but winning. That's it. Win and get control over the people. And to me, that tells me the Democrat Party has always been what it was originally. It was a party against minorities like blacks. That's why the KKK founded it. It is a party on hatred. It is a party on bigotry. And then they managed to lie to people and make it seem like they're all for liberty and free speech and civil liberties and all this BS. And then now look, they're back at it again. So what does that tell you? It was all facade to make you think that they were the good guys, and then they're back to being the bad guys, which tells you everything about who they really are. I want to add on to this. This presidency, to me, is probably the most important presidency of our lifetime. There's never been a time where you have Democrats going into the Republican Party like this. There's the fact that you have a coalition of people now with Donald Trump. And it's from all types. You have RFK, you have Tulsi, you have Tucker, you have Dr. Phil. Like, there's so many people. You even have Jordan Peterson. Pierce Morgan, even though he wouldn't say it, but I'm pretty sure Pierce Morgan is way more pro-Trump than he is pro-Harris. And it's obvious. A lot of people don't want to accept that if he wins, things will get better. And if he loses, things will get worse. And a lot of people say, well, you're just saying that because you're voting for him. No, I'm saying that because I can literally compare and contrast how my life was during Trump and how my life was during Biden. And I can tell you, just from my personal experience, my life was way better under Trump. And I did not vote for Trump. And I'm saying that because that is a fact. That is an anecdote that actually is an existing one that thousands of other people can relate to. That we were better off economically, security, just freedom overall under Trump than under Biden. That is just how it is. And I don't like that that the media is making it seem like if you vote for Trump, you're voting for fascism. You're voting for tyranny. You're voting for, for a civil war. That's what they want. That's genuinely what they want. They want us to be mad. They want us to, do a January 6th all over again, because that's all they really have. If you really think about it, that's all the Democrats have always had since January 6th happened was, oh, another January 6th is going to happen again. Another insurrection. These are insurrectionists. We're not insurrectionists. We want America to be the greatest country in the world. That's it. That's all we want. We want America to be the number one power. We want America to be the one where every other country looks at us and says, wow, we need to aspire to be like that. It's not about being perfect. It's about the pursuit of excellence. And we've literally delayed, like we've faded away from excellence, and we've faded away from doing the best we can and being the best we can. And now we're settling for mediocre. We're settling for DEI that has nothing to do with meritocracy. I mean, my last debate, my friends literally admitted to me that politics means more than merit. It shouldn't. So to a leftist, apparently, it matters more who you know than how good you are at your job. And that's the problem. Because if we have a system where it's all based off of who you know, then what's the point of reaching excellence if that's not going to mean anything? And that's the problem. We can't get there. So we have to remove the DEI. We have to remove Kamala Harris. We have to remove Biden. We have to remove all these people in power right now that are literally a threat to our constitutional republic. And guys, I'm going to read now the chat because now I have the time. Thank you guys so much for actually watching and listening and, supporting. DJ, where's Mary? DJ Lockdown, you're awesome. Make more sheep sound. You're awesome. Thank you so much. Guys, this is for real. Like, if you haven't voted, please go and vote. Make the time to go and vote. I'm not going to tell you who to vote for. What I am going to tell you is don't vote Kamala Harris. That's what I'm going to tell you. And I think what she did tells you why you shouldn't vote for her. Not only her word salads and the lack of substance and context, but the fact that she is lying to the American people and saying that Donald Trump is Hitler should also be another indicator that this person is only in it for the power. She's not in it to actually serve the American people. And if you would actually look at her track record when she was as a prosecutor, as a DA, and as an AG, she got there because of, her politics, not because she actually deserves to have been in any of those positions, especially the one that she's in right now. So thank you guys so much for watching. Like, subscribe, comment, tell me what you think.